If you've been partaking in herb consumption for a little while now, you've probably seen these guys or another brand, maybe Integra, of some two-way humidity control packs. They have them in a lot of shops. I see them in head shops all the time. I even see them in dispos every now and then, but they're pretty popular with a lot of people, and I get asked about them all the time. I've actually had the idea for this video written down, but I think in the last week, like 24 people have asked me about humidity packs, so I was like, you know what? Let's just hurry up and make the video. Don't forget to check out my Twitch stream. I go live every night at 9 p.m. Eastern for a smoke sesh. You might even ask me a question there that turns out to be a video here, so definitely tune in. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can take away money from Amazon and give it to me. So what these are, or what they claim to do, are they're little packets that control the humidity of a smaller space. You don't just leave these out in the open. You put them in a jar with your flour, and it can help maintain a relative humidity of what you decide for the pack. Now, these are 62% relative humidity. For most people, they use about 58 to 62 for flour, but they do make other packs. You can get other humidity levels. I think they got a list on the back here, actually. They got all those ranges there. But 58 and 62 is most likely what you would use for flour if you were trying to use it. Now, what they do is they control the humidity of like a small container, like a jar or something. They're rated for the amount, I think. I think this is for about 8 grams. It says right on the pack, but it keeps the jar that I would put it in at about 62% relative humidity. So if my bud is drier, it's on the drier side, it's going to be under that. It's going to bring it back to life a little bit and add some moisture to it. So it's not too dry, it doesn't break up too easy. Sometimes when bud gets too dry, it just like turns to dust when you go to grind it or break it up. And for some situations, especially if you're rolling something up, that's not super fun. Now, they say on here they're the original terpene shield. And I've heard some people say that it pulls the terps out of their flour, or they don't like the way it interacts with the terps, but it's mostly about the moisture. It's mostly, I think for me, about bringing the bud back to life if it's too dry. Now, I will say at the end of the day, most people don't need something like this. This is only for somebody who's got a lot of flour, or somebody that constantly gets dry flour. When I lived in Colorado, there's like 0% humidity there. There's none of it. These would kind of come in handy every now and then because the bud would just get so dry so easy. Now I'm in Florida, the humidity is crazy here. But most people, they're buying an eighth at a time, a quarter. It's not really gonna dry out that quick unless you're just taking forever, unless it's taking you months and months to consume it. But growers end up using this a lot because when you have a nice big old harvest, you got a ton of the same flour that you're supposed to try to at least keep a decent quality on, right? You don't want to just have your first couple of jars be amazing and then your last couple of jars are just dry, dusty bud. Now, I actually have heard of some people using these humidity packs for the drying and curing process. Right after you chop your plants, they're really high in moisture, and these can suck some of the moisture out of it, but some growers will say, don't do that. That's going to ruin your terpenes. That's going to ruin your curing process overall, so I wouldn't recommend it. But with that two-way humidity control, you can bring dry bud back to life, or you could take bud that has too much moisture and pull it down a little bit. So like I said, they're not really necessary unless you're regularly getting dry bud or you're just unhappy with how dry your bud gets. But just having like a nice jar and some proper storage will help you maintain freshness on your bud. But if you're just buying from a plug or from a shop and everything they have is dry and crispy and it just turns to dust, these are pretty nice. They're really cheap. You find them in a lot of head shops. You find them online. They're not super expensive. And they last a while. Like, this is a 10-pack I probably bought a year ago, and it says right on the bottom that they last up to 2 years inside this resealable bag, and I can still feel that they have the moisture in them. Oh, this one's actually sealed. I have another unsealed one. I think I bought a couple of packs of them. But it's interesting because it's just a little packet filled with like water and salt. I'm not exactly sure how they work, but they have a nice balance of water and salt in there. They have different humidity levels. If you like your bud on the slightly drier side, you can get a pack for that. If you like it on the more moist side, the stickier side, you can get a pack for that. So for the most part, you probably don't regularly need these, but if your bud is dried out, you're trying to bring it back to life, give it a try. They're not super expensive. Either way, come get high with me on Twitch. The session's at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you later, my dudes.